Hey, everybody. It's so good to be back in the podcast seat. It felt like I was off for a little while because took some vacation over summer, went to some sunny, hot places that also happened to be on fire. So they were sunny, hot, and smoky. I felt like a smoked salmon some of those times. But I'm back here now, and we're recording even more podcast episodes. Looking forward to the next quarter of 2021, which is really going to take us to the end of the year. And I've got some very exciting guests lined up for the show. I think you're going to really be able to get a lot of insights from this. And I also today want to talk about recruiting, the 8 places that you can be recruiting. Instead of hoping and praying and relying on one place, we've got to change our logic. Recruiting right now is such an important topic for everybody. It is the number one complaint or concern or topic that I hear from people when we meet, when we get on the phone, when they contact me through the podcast, talking about perhaps being a client, or when they're talking to me about marketing, when they're talking to me about the keeping control of their numbers, they're talking to me about production, about how their floor is operating, how their crew is operating, if they have a crew in the field, if their team, however you call your crew of people, your team of people, how your fleet is operating. It's always coming down to people. And things go in waves. A couple of years ago, the biggest problem was we need more sales. We're not getting enough deals. I want sales to increase. And now it seems that, and maybe you're seeing this as well, it's easy to get deals. There's lots of business to be had. It's not so easy to get enough of the right people for you to fulfill those deals, for you to build, repair, maintain, install, retrofit, remove, whatever trade it is that you do. So today, that's what we're going to talk about. The first thing I want to do, though, before I do that, is I want to thank Blue Yeti. Now, they're not a sponsor or anything, but that's the microphone I use. And I don't know if you've noticed this, but in my last podcasts, man, it was frustrating. I could not, the sound SH, so sh, and the sound CH, ch, was missing from my voice, and I couldn't figure it out. It was driving me nuts. So I generally don't like to go back and listen to my own podcasts. That seems a little bit, I don't know. That's like looking in the mirror every time you walk past me. I don't really need to do that, but I like to listen to my episodes every once in a while because I want to remember back something a guest said, or I want to pick up some notes or check the quality. Usually for me, I'm checking the quality of the transitions and of, story time with Dom and how that matches with the topic. I just want to make sure of those things. So I don't do it all the time, but I do it every once in a while. And every time I listened, and maybe you're the same, getting frustrated. So if I said the word shoulder, as an example, you would hear older. If I said the word should, you would hear would. If I was talking about Schenectady, New York, you'd hear Anectady, New York. And I'm like, what the heck is going on here? And so I changed my settings. I was on with support. And finally, people, so I use a Blue Yeti microphone. It's a pretty cool looking mic. It's good for podcasters. And I finally contacted them. The guy was taking me through all sorts of different troubleshooting tips. And I said, well, here, let me send you a little voice clip I made. I sent it to him, and he's like, immediately, he said, yeah, send that one back. It's not working. So I'm on a new microphone today. Let's see how that works. I'm also in a new office. So that's exciting. And I'm going to still work on my audio quality here. It feels like the sound is a bit hard with things bouncing off the walls, but we'll get there. I think it's more important to stay communicating to you guys so you've got the information you need to keep growing your business. And speaking of that, why don't we get down to it instead of this long ramble that I'm going on. So today we're going to talk about 8 places for you to be recruiting people. You may have heard me talk about this before, but we have to have the logic in mind first. So if you've got one guy in one truck, I'm going to use very rough numbers. You want to bring in about $1,000 a day, right? A guy in a truck a day, a person in a truck a day, a technician, about $1,000. Doesn't matter if you're installing cabinets or doing HVAC, electrical, plumbing, roofing. One guy in one van, about $1,000. And so really, one of the pieces of logic that I'd like you to have in your mind before we even start this conversation is to think about the people you're hiring as a second type of customer. I mean, we've got customers, right? We want to get new customers so we can install more roofs, so we can do more siding, so we can do more windows, we can fix more decks, whatever it is that we do for a business. And that's the kind of client, if we didn't have enough of those clients, you and I would be sitting down, we'd say, okay, well, who's our best client? How do we find them? When we find them, how do we attract them? And then how do we then, once we've attracted them to our company, so it's the marketing stage, how do we sell them? How do we get them in the door and get that deal? Well, for the rest of this conversation, I'd like you to think about hiring people as a second customer, because that's real money, real profitability to you and your team. So let's talk about where we can find these. You may want to share this episode with other people on your team, because I don't know that it needs to be you doing all of these jobs. But what I do know is that you can't just have finding people as a job that kind of gets done, we kind of poke away at, but at the same time complain about all the time. So I'll start with two places that people recruit that work. They're just not working as well as they used to. So you need to do them. They used to be the big answer, but now more and more as time goes on, they're less and less of an answer. So actually, what I'll do first is I'll list through all of the different places to recruit, and then we'll go back and build on each one individually. Does that sound good? So here's the 8 places to recruit. Here's the list. Number 1 is the website Indeed. Number 2 is the website Craigslist. Number 3 is Facebook. Number 4 is Instagram. Number 5 is TikTok. Yeah, I said it, TikTok. Number 6 is Snapchat. Number 7 is bulletin boards. And number 8 is referrals. Okay, now there's a lot of subpoints to each of those, and that's what we're going to get into right now. Okay, so listen, number 1 and number 2, which is posting jobs on Indeed and posting jobs on Craigslist, those are just bare minimum standards for looking for people. If you're doing that now, that's great, but it's the bare minimum standard. The thing with Indeed is people have to be looking for work. They go to Indeed and then they're looking for a job and they see your ad. And then we have to make your ad, your job ad, look right. It has to be appealing. It has to talk to the right kind of person. And of course, we're still trying to hire for culture. We want the right kind of person with the right kind of attitude to work in our shop or on our crew or on our job sites. You don't want to have somebody that's a cancer, for sure. So you still have to get the right kind of person. But what Indeed and Craigslist, it's called presuppose, like what they assume is that somebody's looking for a job, so they go to Indeed to look for the job. They go to Craigslist to look for the job. But more and more, and we're seeing this happen all around us. I have a team, Raul, and his team is my marketing arm. They are more and more not just using their skills for marketing to find new customers, they're marketing to find new employees. And what they're doing is they're not waiting for people to come to a website like Indeed or Craigslist to think, well, I want to find new work. What they're doing is they're being interruptive. They're catching people where they're getting their entertainment. They're watching Facebook or TikTok or Snapchat. I'm not kidding. Those are actual and legit places to now prospect, search for new employees. So what they're doing is they're going out there and they're putting ads there for people. People who hadn't thought about looking for a new job are suddenly getting served these really cool videos or cool ads. And they think, oh, maybe I'll apply at this place. And it's helping. People are finding new staff on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok. I know it sounds crazy, but it's the modern world. We can ignore it, but it doesn't mean it's going to go away. I can put my head in the sand, but it doesn't mean the problem goes away. So that's why we're talking about these things today. So yes, post your ads on Indeed. Yes, post your ads on Craigslist. And yes, they need to be good ads with a very simple and clear call to action, like call, here's the ad. We're looking for a job site foreman, or we're looking for a fence post digger, or a finishing carpenter, whatever it is. Write the ad for all the things you want. And at the bottom, the clear call to action is call David, right? Text this number, call this number to apply. We want to get those people to us as quickly as possible. Then we can put them through the process, the interview process. And by the way, the free interview process is on the website. So if you go to profittoolbelt.com under free resources, you can see the 2-step system for hiring with attitude. And that script is actually one of the most downloaded scripts on my website because it comes along with scripts. So it tells you in the 2-step process what to say as people are coming through the pipe. So you might enjoy it there. So go to the website, Profit Tool Belt, grab that. All right. So we've talked, out of the 8, we've talked about 2, Indeed and Craigslist. Let's get into the other ones. The next place that more and more people are recruiting from is Facebook. Yes, Facebook allows you to recruit for people. So you can put ads on Facebook and you can join groups on Facebook. There's a whole bunch of ways. Every time I talk to Raul and his team, I learn more different ways that Facebook has these nooks and crannies and these tactics and techniques for finding people and really capturing their attention and then suggesting, hey, maybe you want to apply for a job. And that's where the jobs are coming in from. So there's at the very least, 2 different ways to post for jobs on Facebook. One is posting to groups inside Facebook, and the other one is to put ads on Facebook. Now, the ads, what I've learned and what I continue to learn and what I'm observing is the ads are very specific. They look a certain way. They're not really coming across as you might think a job recruitment ad would. They're adding some value, and then they're saying, hey, if you want to apply, click here. That little click here then has its own set of rules. That click here has to be very clean and clear. It has to go to a single step verification before it comes to you. That's to make sure that you don't get scammers or people from some weird, small, recently formed country contacting you out of the blue. I mean, you weren't really want to make sure you got the right people there, but Facebook works for recruiting, right? Remember, one man in one van is $1,000 a day. If you're running a cabinetry shop, we know that a cabinetry shop, each guy, this is $1 million cabinetry shop. I need each guy on a 7 or 8 man crew to be bringing in $600 a day or producing $600 a day in that shop. If you're doing HVAC or sheet metal, or electrical, you've got other numbers that factor in, but there is a number. There is a number. So every time you're short one person, especially a really skilled person, it's costing you money. Or I guess the other way to look at it is you're being held back from making the money you need to. Making the money you need to. So there is value in doing this. If you want to know more about this, get in touch with me. You guys know my cell phone number, 604-837-8361. Just send me a text and say, Dom, let's talk. And then you know what we'll do? We'll talk. And I'll walk you or talk you through anything that we need to there. It's fine. 20-minute phone call. I have these all week long with people. You wouldn't believe how many people reach out for the podcast. And if you haven't done that yet, you should be one of them. Just shoot me a note. We'll talk. All right. So we've talked about Indeed. We've talked about Craigslist. We talked about Facebook. The next one is Instagram. Now, if you don't use Instagram, that's okay. Other people do. And that's where we want to catch them. So Instagram also has its own set of rules. There's ways of swiping. There's ways of liking. The video's got to be a certain length. The video, by the way, does not have to be fancy. The other thing that I continue to learn, and maybe you've seen this as well, is that an overproduced ad that looks too good, it just looks good. You're not going to do anything about it. But an ad that is realistic and an ad that is like it looks raw and real, like maybe just you walking through the shop, taking a video of a guy on an edge bander or on a sheet metal press on a sheet metal brake. That's a video people want to see. But then you've got to have a little script that goes along with it, very, very short, and just talk to people and tell them what you're doing and what's up. But it's got to be super short, to the point. And there's obviously scripting that goes along with that. We can do that with you. But think about using Instagram. So far, Indeed, Craigslist, Facebook, Instagram. The next one is TikTok. Now, listen, when I heard about TikTok as a recruiting tool, I laughed too. My first answer was, you got to be kidding me, man. TikTok? Really? But you have to go where the people are. You have to go where the audience is. And so TikTok is really good, especially if you're looking for entry-level staff, because the people on TikTok tend to be younger, right? Facebook, they tend to be older. We can get a wide range of ages on Facebook. Instagram, there's enough bleed over from Facebook to Instagram that we can still get some older people there, some more skilled trades. When you start to get to TikTok and Snapchat, you're probably getting to more of the labor trades, more of the entry-level positions, but don't overlook it, because the whole package using all of these tactics is what brings you the momentum that you need to get the positions filled. Okay, so thinking about saying, oh, you know what, Dom, all these ideas are great, but TikTok won't work. I get it, but you've got to do everything for something to work, if that makes sense. You've got to do a full court. Everything has to be working in unison. And then once you've done that, you start to see really, really good results. So yeah, TikTok is great. Of course, TikTok has its own set of rules, its own set of best practices. Same with Snapchat. It just seems crazy, but you can use Snapchat if you know how Snapchat can be used, right? So if this was judo, I don't know if any of you have taken martial arts like judo or hapkido, but those martial arts in particular use the opponent's strength or momentum against them. That's why somebody comes at you in judo and it seems very simple and fluid that you just then throw that person because you're using their momentum and strength against them. Snapchat, Instagram, even Facebook, we're using the strength of those channels against them. We're using the strength of that channel and putting it to our own use. And that's what you want to have happening here. Okay. Listen, there are going to be more of these modern online channels that are going to continue to grow. And if you're in different countries than in North America, you might have other channels that I haven't even mentioned yet. So if you want to talk about how to use these systems or processes to recruit, shoot me a note. We'll talk about it. Okay, let's talk about some old-fashioned ways of recruiting. The other old-fashioned one, number 7 that I said, is bulletin boards. Yeah, bulletin boards, you remember these from back when you were in high school, right? It's that 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. It's lined up so that the bottom has a whole bunch of pull-off tabs. You know, you tear the tab on the bottom, tear-off sheets, I think they're called, and the phone numbers printed sideways and said, you know, needed roofer, needed concrete finishers, needed finishing carpenter, whatever it is, right? So you can still use those, but what's important is where you put them, where you put them. And this is where we're going to take a little bit of a walk, because you can put them at your local Starbucks. You can put them at your local college or university, especially if you've got a trades college nearby. You can put them at your local grocery store. Those places are all great. Of course, ask the manager for permission to post it. It takes a little bit of legwork, but you can do this yourself on a weekend with your kids. Go grab a coffee, say, you know, you're coming out with daddy now to do a little field trip, and just go do this with the kids. What the heck? It's going to be fun. So just spend the weekend doing that. But the other thing that's important for posting on bulletin boards is to remember, we want to go where the right people are. And so I'll say churches, but I mean places of worship, because I don't want to just assume Christianity, right? So if you've got churches near you and you want to post there, go and ask if you can post at the local church. Some churches have massive congregations, but also mosques and synagogues, right? Whatever's in your local area that has a bulletin board that you can post at, go ahead and post there. Now, I'm going to loop back from the bulletin board idea all the way back to Facebook. Okay, so you're going to get your mind stretched a little bit here. And some of you might already be doing this. So a wink and a high five and a nudge to you. Congratulations. I was actually at my son's lacrosse practice the other day, and I was talking to a friend of mine, another dad there, and he runs a company that custom prints uniforms, t-shirts, hats, things like that. Of course, what a great place for him to be hanging out at the lacrosse field. And he was saying, hey, Dom, I've got a real problem finding people. Same thing I hear at work all day long. Here I am sitting at the side of a lacrosse field having that conversation with him. He's like, yeah, it's really, really hard to find people. And I said, I started the conversation as you would imagine any business coach would. Well, tell me about the kind of people you're looking for. Tell me what the problem is. Tell me who your ideal kind of person is. And he says, well, you know what? It's an entry-level job, even though we need maturity. Because they're folding shirts, they're running the different machines that screen print or cut. You know, he's got it's a machine shop. He just processes fabric. And he said, well, so we need maturity because we need people to be accurate. And we need them to show up for work. But he goes, it's okay if they don't really speak English. And so I said, well, tell me about the cultures that are there. And so we talked about some of the cultures that are already working there. He's got people from Syria. He's got people from other places in the Middle East. He's got people from I'll just say the Russian states in general. He's got people from Romania. He's got people from South America. Like, we have a lot of Brazilians where I am, because they love to come up here and study, and then they stay. So he's got all these sorts of cultures who have worked for him or who work for him now. And so then the conversation was, okay, well, how do you find more of those people? And he said, well, I don't know, Tom. That's why I brought it up with you. Okay, well, think about this. We were just talking about the bulletin board. I just talked about places of worship, right? So we've got churches, we've got synagogues, we've got mosques, we've got other types of religious places where we can put a bulletin board. But you have to think, now you cross that over with Facebook, where is a newly arrived Romanian person going to go look for work? They have limited English skills. They have, let's say you're a mason, and these guys come to Canada, the United States, and they've got limited skills, but they're really good at dry stone retaining walls because that's all they built in Romania. Well, they don't know that that's a skill that we need here, especially if you're a Mason, you're already smiling and listening more carefully. So what you can do is you can go to Facebook groups that are just for Romanians in Nebraska, Romanians in Canada, Romanian immigrants in the United States. There are Facebook groups just for that. And just change the country, Romania, Syria, Ethiopia, Afghanistan, wherever they've immigrated from, or they're here as refugees, they will have a Facebook group as a support group. Find a way to post to that group. Let's say you're in Dalton, Georgia, and it's Romanians in Dalton, Georgia. Go to the Romanians in Dalton, Georgia Facebook group. Go to the Romanians in Dalton, Georgia Facebook group and try to post in Romanian saying we are looking for staff. Guys, this is about creativity. This is about creativity. Creativity is what's going to win this race for you, right? So you see how I ran through all the places to recruit, talked about Indeed, Craigslist, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, kind of some giggles there. Then we switched over to old-fashioned methods, which was bulletin boards. From bulletin boards, I went to churches and places of worship. Churches and places of worship have communities to them. So you take that community idea and you apply it to Facebook, you apply it to Instagram, you apply it to places people hadn't thought of before. This is the kind of stuff myself and Raul talk to business owners like you about all the time. So I won't keep going on this, but if you want to talk to me, shoot me a text message and we'll take it from there, okay? 604-837-8361. All right, let's move off this old-fashioned method and we'll go to the next one, referrals. So this is number 8 on our list for today. How do you get more referrals for the right kind of people in your shop or on your crew? Well, you got to ask. Actually, one of the funniest things I've ever seen for referrals was a woodworking shop, a cabinetry shop, actually quite a large cabinetry shop. And the foreman there is a very creative guy. He's a good guy too, very good foreman. He actually learned a lot of his leadership skills because he's also on his local volunteer fire department, and that particular fire department does a lot of leadership training and they do lots of simulations because they're the volunteer fire department for a town that's about to become a city. So they're taking things pretty seriously. And the way he asks for referrals inside his company is he posts the referral request above the urinals. That's right above where you go to the bathroom. And his name's Dennis, and the thing he says is, hey, Dom, they're going to be there twice a day for at least 20 seconds each time. I've got their undivided attention. So what a great place to do that. But you can put those referrals, those referral requests or referral reminders in an envelope and hand them out. I know we're paying people electronically now, but on paydays, you can also give them notices and hand them an envelope and say, hey, we're looking for referrals. We're willing to pay $300, $600. $500, $1,000 if somebody stays with us for 6 months. So don't pay it right up front, but if somebody stays, you're going to lose that money anyways. Remember, a man in a van is worth $1,000 a day in sales to you. Why wouldn't you pay a $1,000 referral for somebody that sticks around for 6 months? People is your power. That's what you're growing here, right? I need people to grow this business. So be willing to pay that referral fee out there. But where you put the sign for the referral is up to you. Dennis likes to place them above the urinal, just to remind people. All right, folks, there are so many other angles and so many other nuances and little slices that we can take on this, how to recruit people. But the key element is you can't approach it half-assed. You got to go at it full bore. You have to go at this. If finding people is your problem, then make finding people your number one priority. Okay, if finding people is your problem, make finding people your number one priority. And look, I know we have a ton of other priorities as business owners. You got to be crazy to be a business owner, as we are. But let's just accept the fact that we are crazy. Okay, that's now level 0. Beyond that, make finding people a priority. The more people you can find, the more promises you can keep. The more promises you can keep, the more contracts you can sign. The more contracts you can sign, the more money you can bring in. And if you're running the business properly and you continue to listen to this show, I'll show you how to work less and earn more by putting systems in place for time, for team, for people, for exit strategy, for growing, for sales, for marketing. That's what we talk about here. All right, let's wrap this one up. That's all of recruiting. I'll go through those 8 places to recruit one more time as a list. You'll also see this in the show notes. If you have a question, shoot me a text message. You know the number already, but here's the 8 places to recruit. Number 1, Indeed. Number 2, Craigslist. Number 3, Facebook. 4, Instagram. 5, TikTok. 6, Snapchat. 7, old-fashioned places like bulletin boards. And remember the little transition we did from bulletin boards, specific communities, back to Facebook, right? And then referrals is number 8. All right. Thanks very much, folks, for checking in. Make sure you stay tuned for Story Time with Dom. It's a juicy one today, and I know you're going to love it. Talk to you soon.